have to move. The guards will
No.
be coming through.
I gotta fucking check for loot.
Do you know the way out?
Yes.
Loot, loot, loot.
We began invasion of the valley not 24 hours ago.
Look what I almost
I
missed
expected
because of
resistance
you,
and have not been
Jacob.
disappointed. The people of the valley think they defeat us, but the harder they fight, the stronger.
Typical RPG player.
If they weren't protecting something,
It's funny because when
they
I'm
wouldn't
playing,
martyr themselves so.
when I'm playing like
They wouldn't
tabletop
endure
and
torture
stuff, I
such
think
as
about
all.
looting so far
They are
down the
believers.
list.
I respect that, but they are on the wrong side of this battle. It will not be long now. A new, better
Alright.
world is at hand.
Okay.
Had some time to study this place.
How about this guy's prison room? Anything cool? No. Ooh, stuff. Excuse me. Excuse me, let me move. Don't touch the thing.
A silver
Hell yeah.
cigarette case. Looks like it's been
Ooh.
through a war, which is likely.
What a relic. Alright. Alright, here I
How
come,
long were you
Jacob.
in that cell?
Long enough to learn that Constantine won't stop until he's found what he's looking for.
And we'll
The
just
divine
have to
source.
stop him.
Is it here?
Trust must go both ways, Lara.
So no.
What is this?
A history lesson. This place has its own scars.
It was a work camp.
Compound bow part.
I finally
Must
laid all the
avidly
trails
learn
bare.
everything.
Laura knows the truth. Now a strange series of emotions.
God, I need to play some more tabletop
Remorse,
RPGs.
certainly. Remorse for a piece of
Missed my
individual
fix
inside that
last
torture
couple
cell.
weeks.
But something else too.
Once because of fever, once
I know
because of
Constantine thinks that I've lost my edge. That my
people
time
being
with the
unable to
cross
show
has
up.
made me soft.
Should happen
He's
tomorrow.
wrong.
I see no reason it
isn't
shouldn't.
softness. It
I'm
feels
the DM right
instinctively
now.
a
I
new
miss
kind of
playing.
resolve.
Am I
knew
still
Lord Croft
alive?
to be
Good
an
question.
intelligent man.
Good
I know his
question,
daughter
HQ.
holds secrets in her head. As an ally, she'd be invaluable.
But no, I miss playing a lot
As an
because
enemy,
playing is
she'd
big
be
for
a
me. I like
difficult
playing.
problem. I must make sure that Constantine's arrogance doesn't
Not that I
get the
don't like
better of him.
GMing,
Take her on.
but you know. Ooh. Actually casts my shadow nice. Campaign feels relatively close to end. It is.
Soviets sent prisoners here to work in the mines.
Even that wasn't enough.
I am currently running a
Took children from their mothers to work as
Pathfinder
slaves.
campaign, and to me, once you get past about level 8-ish,
Looks like an excavation.
the power scaling of stuff makes the game
They dug
feel,
anywhere they caught a hint of wealth.
for me, both as a GM and a player. As a player, I start feeling like you just get too powerful and like
Those.
the game gets really
Those
swingy in that
ancient-
way.
What did
And
they
as a
find?
GM, it just
You'll
like
have to ask them.
making
go.
interesting
We always say
encounters
here.
becomes really hard because thinking about what your players can actually do gets rough. And I think I think my players are like level 7 now. But I had thoughts about where the campaign was going, and hopefully is not the right way to do it. I enjoy GM. Do I prefer to GM or DM or play? I don't think I would say that I prefer GMing or playing. They're kind of their own thing. Sorry about the whole KHC game. The power level was way out of whack on that one. So, yeah, but, okay. It was, but it's not that I think that was bad. Like, I don't think that was bad because of the Caged Sea campaign. I think that was just what happens with Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, that whole general system.
We'll be safe there.
Oh, almost missed a thing. And again, I don't actually think that's bad either. Like, that high level stuff can be fun for its own crazy thing. It just also... It also just gets fucking ridiculous. Because, like, you were talking about Yithm there. Like, that guy basically was untouchable because of being level 20 and having all these insane items and just being powerful in a way that meant, like, in order for something to be dangerous to him, everybody else was basically getting completely shut down in what they could possibly do. In that, like, they would just start dying because of what Yithm... Because of what it would take to kill Yithm, everyone else would just be dead. And, like, that was really funny and awesome, and, like, Yithm was awesome in that way. But it also meant that, like, yo, what the fuck are we doing?
Storm's coming in. I'll have to ground the choppers soon.
Still a lot of territory to cover.
Yeah, we'll just have to get more boots in the snow. Constantine wants eyes inside.
Anyone not read the guy up there?
Yeah, they found some old records in the prison. Pictures of ruins and maps of mines.
Think the Soviets knew what was up here?
I don't have any fucking arrows, god damn it.
It's clear.
Well, most of this stuff is decades old. Doesn't even look like they
Make
cleared
arrows.
Yeah, that part has me worried. Maybe they didn't leave.
How many more natives do you think?
Can't be too many of them. They're coming from somewhere on the other side of the mountain. When the storm comes, we'll get some men over there to burn them out.
You see them up close? Goddamn primitives.
Yeah, it's like they're frozen in time.
Uh,
Hey, did the team learn anything from the ones they caught in the attack?
Nothing. Not for lack of trying.
lots of men who are seen. KC wasn't even the worst one of your campaigns. I wouldn't have called it a bad campaign at all. Fuck.
God damn it, it is fucking freezing this place. Should've brought my damn cold weather gear. Hang on. I'll go look. Don't go far.
Stealth kill that man.
Patrol 3 checking in.
Stealth kill that man. That is red.
What was that?
Oh.
There!
Oops.
Open up!
Shit. You're dead, man. And I'm gonna get out of here. Woo! Slip and slide. Whoa. Excuse me, sir. Oh, I didn't fucking reload. Everything's fine. Oh, from a balancing perspective, I gotcha. That shit's hard to balance. Like, I know Wizards of the Coast or Paizo or whoever, they do all kinds of stuff to try to keep their ship balanced. But at a certain point, like, what you are doing in playing those games is finding ways to break that. And the sign of a good GM is how they are able to react to that and continue play and still make stuff interesting. So, yeah, I don't know. The campaign I'm running right now, it is getting kind of close towards the end. I wouldn't be surprised if there was still, like... Because, like, I'm very much not the railroady kind of GM. Like, there will be a little bit of it sometimes, for sure. Like, don't get me wrong, I've caused a cave-in my games before and forced people to fucking go forward from that, but...
When I'm weak, it's always been her voice that gave me strength. When she loses hope,
but I try to keep things open enough that, like...
I must confess that I am worried about her.
If they are like, yo, we want to go talk to these people, like, I want to make sure that turns into something interesting. I'm not just going to be like, everyone you talk to is going to try to funnel you towards the end game thing, so...
And now I feel that fear is
well, yeah, I would say we're towards the end. I also don't know where my group wants to go right now, exactly. I've definitely given them some pretty big hints of, like, here are some major threads you could pull on, but I don't know if that's, like, I don't know exactly what thread they're going to go to, and depending on which one of those threads they want to do, like, yeah, there could be another, like, two or three arcs, I would say, before I, like, just straight up am more or less forcing endgame on them. But even then, like, a lot of times those arcs could end up just being, like, 3-ish sessions, you know? In my mind, or the way I end up structuring it, because I don't do, like, traditional experience points, an arc for me is usually, like, a level up. You go from, you do some stuff, I say you leveled up, that's usually because you completed an arc, so to speak. Whether or not that arc is going to continue from there, or whether they decide to, like, move on, do something else, totally up to them. But yeah. I tend to feel pretty good about my GMing practices, though. Like, I have made mistakes in my life, don't get me wrong. If someone wanted to come in here and start being like, yo, let's AMA... rope post. What? Oh, stand next to it to make a bridge. I get it. Okay. I didn't fully read it. So I stand next to it, and I shoot it to another thing, makes a bridge. Got it. I think that might have been in the first game, and I just didn't really remember it. Oh yeah, man, people want to fucking ask me anything about being a tabletop role-playing game GM. I am always happy to talk about that kind of thing. Whee! Where am I going?
Anna, I need to get in there.
Oh, I see. Windowsill.
Jacob, what is he doing?
What?
Shit. Be careful, Laura.
That's not how we get in? Oh yeah, there we go. Cool.
I cannot wait to leave this frozen hell.
Then I have
I mean, you could wear a bigger jacket, maybe?
Scouts. The natives have a settlement on the other side of the mountain.
Soon, you will have your day.
We both will. Just as long as you don't lose focus again.
Again?
What do you mean?
You're sentimental about her. The Croft girl, I can tell because she's still alive. We can't afford to dwell in the past.
You doubt me? You know what I've given to Trinity, what I've sacrificed, what I face.
What, you got fucking lung cancer or something?
Life has not been kind.
I sure hope what you face isn't being patient zero for corona. Yeah, exactly.
Now who's being sentimental?
I promise you. All of this will be worth it in the end. With the divine source, you will live. But more importantly, you will live in a world cleansed of sin.
Send your men to this settlement. Find out what they know. It's too dangerous.
Yeah, Jacob. I only just killed like 12 people
Let
with
me
a
have
fucking
my
bow and
pleasures.
arrow. And these guys, we could get the drop on. But
None of
yeah,
this
it's
will
way
matter.
too dangerous.
The day our work is accomplished.
Constantine, you're needed in the holding cells.
We're in this together.
Yeah,
sister.
Constantine, you're needed.
Remember.
All the people just have gotten out. Out of curiosity, since you have run a reasonable amount of both, how do you find the prep/improv for 2d6 versus D&D style games? I've recently really leaned towards Powered by Apocalypse World stuff, the 2d6 systems, in large part because of the prep.
The non-believers
Um,
turned to ash and swept away, and the pure of
I've-
faith will be raised up.
I've
and
always
given
enjoyed doing a bit of improv, but part of that is just because earlier times when I've done particularly
Get out! I'll find you.
particularly large amounts of prep for a session, like stuff never goes right. That's why a lot of times you hear the saying like
All right. Got to find a way out of
prepare smart, not or people will say that smart prep tends not to be over prep,
Lara, the train yard is on the north end of the Gulag.
and that's because when you put in a lot of prep, it's just really easy to get into a situation where
Strange being in the field again.
when stuff doesn't go the way you
I was undercover for
expect,
so long.
you end up
in a life
like
of
scrambling, being like,
comfort.
oh, I didn't prepare for that, but I
Here
prepared
there's
for
no
all this
comfort
other
at all.
stuff, so like, what do I
Air is
do about
frozen,
that?
Food is canned and cold.
And that
Company aside from
can lead
Constantine,
to
it's abysmal. But I asked to be here.
situations
to be
where
here. I do not
you
have the luxury
feel
of time or patience.
overwhelmed, I guess, or like
Constantine
where
and
I
I
have
begin
felt
this journey
overwhelmed
together.
because
I will be
I
the
put in
vehicle
so
to his
much work to
destiny.
be prepped
So for now, I'll
that when
leave
it doesn't
deep.
work out, like,
I'll let
or
the
even
cold air
if it
burn
doesn't
my
work out,
lungs.
like,
I'll let
not
it remind
necessarily
me
like,
that I'm
oh, you
still
guys
alive.
came up with something to solve
Let it
this that is
fuel me
so
for the final
entirely
push
different than
towards
what
our
I did.
destiny.
Like, that's exciting. But when it's like just a little bit off, like, oh, they come up with a kind of an interesting idea, but it doesn't solve the puzzle, and then just being like, oh, well, that doesn't work. And like, that doesn't really feel good for everybody either. Whereas if you have a lot of like if-then type of stuff going on into prep, like if they try to solve this, a lot of my prep now ends up being like a good example will actually come from a 2d6 system session I ran. I ran a session where the goal of my party was like, hey, we want you to like sabotage these robots
Trinity soldiers.
so that our
Aside from the design, there's
human
no
people
identifying
doing
tags.
a
They keep themselves hidden.
doing a
even from
like
their own foot
combat
soldiers.
exercise against the robot prove that the humans are still better than the robots because we want to continue to be making money. Like, that's really what it was. A corporation that was like a paramilitary corporation was saying, we don't want to lose our jobs to these robots, so we want you to sabotage the robots. Cool. That's the basic premise for what these people are doing. Can we get on this rope? What am I... I made the bridge. I don't know how to get on the rope. Well, that was the basic premise. And so I came up with, like, okay, here are some characters that if they decide to interact with, they can try to figure that out. Am I just coming at this from the wrong angle? Okay, I was supposed to click this thing and do something with it. Okay. Gotcha. I wasn't making a bridge, I was pulling the electricity out. Anyway. Well, what my prep ended up looking like for that... Just shoot at me? No. What my prep ended up looking like for that had... kind of, the way the system was set... Oh, Jesus. Hey, I got a rifle. Excuse me, fellas. I need you to not... Got a laser sight on this rifle, dude. Whoa. I just saw someone. Hang on a sec. And I will continue. Okay. As I was saying. My prep ended up looking like... I had a bunch of, like... If they fuck up enough times before being inside of a building... These are the kinds of things that are going to come at them. If they fuck up enough times, but they are inside of a building, this other stuff is going to happen. And so my prep just kind of had some, like, very loose stuff about that. And then when my party decided, like, oh, we're gonna like sneak into this building. We're gonna try to do it using social cues. Like, we're gonna sneak a person in with some... We're gonna sneak them in with some credentials that say they are a, like, tech wizard to help out with this thing. We're going to have them attach the thing so our hacker in the... They're going to attach this, like, dongle so that our hacker has a way to get in on the prototype for this new kind of robot and try to fuck up some of the programming in it. Cool. They snuck the person in. That person was like, yeah, I'm a tech dude. I'm gonna look at this brand new stuff you guys are doing. Put in my 2 cents. And so they were in the building. And it was like, okay, they're in the building. Craft explosives? Alright, sure. Shrapnel grenade. Grab a can. Make an explosive. And that kind of prep ended up, I felt like, made a just really good session. Not because I came in with anything ready to go, but because what I came in with was loose enough that no matter what they decided to do, I could react easily and have some just, like, tools at my disposal for what might be worth putting in. And so that ends up being a lot more of what I look for these days in my prep. Come up with, like, an idea for a situation, and then get a little goofy with it. I have a lot more trouble doing that in the D20 system. One of the things I've ended up doing for my D20 systems,
As we push deeper into the valley, I
are
find
like
myself
random
staring
encounter
at the
type
ruins
things
and pondering my own
for
mortality.
when they're traveling.
These structures have been here for
I
ages,
set
waiting
those
for
up
this moment.
super loosely.
I can feel their anticipation. The stone itself
I
once
basically, if they hit the chance of having a random encounter, I have a few, like, here's a situation, and then I just roll with it.
Those that hid the source from Trinity for so long.
And that's because, like, having a random encounter that's just like, you run into wolves, not very interesting. But if I have a list of, like,
This world is too corrupt.
I'll just throw out a couple. If I have a list, some that are like, oh, combat, some that are, you find a tavern with, like, a bunch of minstrels in there, and then the minstrels steal some shit and, like, run away in the morning. Like, that kind of smaller encounter still makes it so that, like, I have some ideas of what encounters could happen, but I'm not prepping the session of, like, I'm not going into it with a prepped session of, oh, I want them to run into these, like, dastardly minstrels in the bar that are gonna steal their stuff. It's like, nah. That's just an idea I have for an encounter that could happen. And I try really hard to make sure that encounters are not always going to be combat encounters, because
They're everywhere. You'll run into some trouble.
while the D20 systems are definitely focused on combat, like, say what you will, those systems are built with, hey, here's like fucking 30,000 rules about how combat works, and here is the, like, one rule about how all these skills work. There's a focus on combat that just makes it so, yeah, combat's gonna happen. When people level up, they get combat abilities 9 out of 10 times. Like, that's just how that system is built. But I don't think just combat encounters is interesting, so...
Find Jacob and join his people.
So I've really
myself to
moved towards
he will tell me more about
improvisational things. My current campaign that I'm running has been really heavily improvisational, sometimes to the detriment of my players, and I know it. Not just because I have to take a few more pauses every once in a while for finding a stat sheet that I didn't prepare ahead of time, but also because sometimes what a player might be looking for is a little bit more directed. And being a lot more in the improvisational style, that's not always going to happen. I know the hardest part with my current campaign was definitely right off the bat. I really started the campaign with just throwing them into a city and being like, here's some very loose stuff about what's happening in the city. What do you do? And that is very different than a different long campaign that I've run, where the first few sessions, like the first 3 or 4 sessions, were a lot more railroaded, in the sense that, like, hey, here's a mission that you're getting sent on right off the bat, so that we can start play and really have people going like, okay, our group is together already, whatever. When we get into a combat encounter, sure. Having a little bit of railroady stuff early on in the game can really facilitate movement forward. That stuff definitely had a lot more prep already going into it, which makes sense to me. Like, it's really finding the balance, finding what works for you. Again, I've been leaning towards these 2d6 systems just because they are a lot cleaner with sideways approaches. Okay, let's do faster stealth kills. Let's do... kill unarmed enemies during dodge counter. Do I not already do that? Bandage more quickly. Sorry, I'm just going to look through these really quick, and then I'll finish. You've been itching to try running the Sprawl, but Zen had a really awkward time adjusting from PF to Dungeon World. And you do worry you'd face the same. Yeah, it is a very weird thing. I have also had some struggles doing that too. Increased amount of man-made crafting resources. Naturalist, increased amount of natural. Ooh. XP bonuses from stuff seems good. Let's do finesse. That seems good. I'm also going to wrap up here, so while I do these upgrades real quick, I have a totally different rifle. Where did that come from? Old Fang, an assault rifle? Okay. Anyway. I've had a couple sessions. I'm gonna save the game. And just go to the fucking log out and switch. We're done for tonight.